Go ahead. Tony, take it away.
Cool. Hello, everyone. My name is Tony Quiros. I am the outreach specialist for Palomar College. Pretty much what my job is to go out to high schools and community organizations and talk about Palomar College, from all the different academic programs that we have, financial aid opportunities, and student support services. This is going to be a pretty comprehensive, quick presentation about Palomar College, and hopefully it fits in with whatever your needs are when you're looking for a college to go to right after high school. A little bit of background information about myself. I myself am a product of the community college system. I didn't have the best grades when it came to high school. I was very lucky to graduate, to be honest. And for me, community college provided a fresh start as far as academics goes. I kind of didn't know what I wanted to major in yet. And community college was that great fresh start for me. Eventually, after achieving my associate's degree, I eventually ended up transferring to Cal State Long Beach, where I finished my bachelor's degree. I got into every school that I applied for as a transfer student. So it was really motivating for the fact that no, I didn't get into anywhere I wanted to as a high school senior, but again, I had that much more opportunity as a transfer student and was much more successful thereout. So definitely feel free to ask questions in the chat. We'll definitely go through the Q&A aspect of it towards the end of the presentation. So kind of keep that in mind. And I'll be providing a whole bunch of links to everything that I'm talking about at the very end of presentation as well. So to start us off, some of you might be familiar with the community college system. Some of you have maybe never heard of it before. That's totally okay. First question I typically like to ask, or maybe get all of you to think about, like, what opportunities could you go to a community college for? And so there's a lot of different areas in which students will go for. So you can get an associate's degree, you could transfer to a four-year school, get a certificate or a trade tech program, kind of meaning that you don't necessarily have to go through the general education route. You can focus in on a specific trade, which is really great for a lot of students that just kind of want to focus in on their career first and maybe at some point go back to school. Additionally, we also have skills for current people that are working right now. Maybe you want to change your own job and find new skill sets. That's totally fine as well. Short-term courses, you can learn a foreign language or adopt English as a second language yourself. If you decide to go to a four-year school, you can actually take general education requirements as a general education classes while still attending a four-year school at a community college. So great way to get some of that out of the way. We also have a program in which if you decide to take college classes while you're in high school, they're free. And it's a great way to get a great understanding of what college is like, especially right now in this virtual space. If you take a class, you're able to kind of get an inside look. Okay, what does the class look like? How are the professors? How are students interacting? What are some of the resources? And one class that you do now is going to be one less class that you're going to have to do in the future. You can also do fun classes. College isn't just about taking your math, your English, your sciences. You can take a music class, you can get into art, you can do graphic design. There's a lot of different areas that I encourage you all to explore as well. And of course, we have sports and performing arts events that you can attend. I know it's a little tricky right now because of everything happening with COVID, but of course, this is all temporary. So it's something to look forward to in the future as well. So why choose a community college? Well, there's a lot of great reasons. Its affordability ends up being a big reason for a lot of students. The fact that it's so low cost, and we'll definitely dive into the numbers of everything as we move forward in the presentation. One of the big ones I always like to point out is the fact that it's quality programs. Do not think that just because it's a community college that, our teachers aren't qualified or that we have lesser resources or anything like that. Funny enough, the same professors that are teaching at Palomar College are likely also teaching at other colleges like Cal State San Marcos, San Diego State, and UC San Diego. Funny enough, I don't have any college reps with me today, but one of our former college reps always loved talking about how their UCLA professor used to always give out the same assignments, the same readings, everything was practically the same about the class. The big difference was that the UCLA students were obviously paying a higher price. But again, don't think that the quality is any different there. So there are over 100 community colleges just in the state of California alone. Why Palomar College? Well, we're one of the largest community colleges in San Diego County and in the state of California. We like to pride ourselves in that. If you've ever been to our San Marcos campus, or that campus is actually twice the size of Disneyland and California Adventure combined. And we actually also have several campuses as well, not just the one in San Marcos, but we have one in Fallbrook, Escondido, and Rancho Bernardo. We also have a lot of different options when it comes to students deciding what type of classes they want to take, whether they're much more of a faster pace, maybe during the winter or the summer sessions, or practically online. And the big one, of course, I'm sure a lot of you have heard, but if you've never heard of it before, it's called Palomar Promise, in which if you do decide to attend Palomar College, we will pay for your first 2 years of tuition. And we'll kind of get more into detail of that later in the presentation. So kind of now moving to our academic programs, there's just a lot of different things that students will get involved with on our campus, from music, dance, learning a foreign language, being part of our science department. We actually have a radio station and a television studio on our campus as well. There are just so many unique things that you can do at Palomar College, which is incredible. We have over 250 degrees and certificates, so there's something for everybody. Some of you, I'm sure, are kind of undecided right now, and that's totally okay. That's actually quite normal. I myself started out being undeclared, and I actually ended up changing my major 7 times before finally deciding what I wanted to do. I went through chemistry, business, health science, criminology, anthropology, sociology, psychology, until I landed in human development, where through that entire journey, I learned that I liked understanding things from different disciplines. And so definitely if you change your major a few times, that's okay. I actually graduated in 4 years. So even after 7 major changes, you can still graduate on time. For those of you that might be a little bit more of really unsure, there's a great resource known as our guided pathways, and the website for it is located right for it below. But it's a great way to figure out, based on certain majors or career paths, what do the courses look like, what do the careers look like, and what do the salaries look like? Because some of us want to know how much money we're going to be making. But I think most importantly is the course maps that are really helpful, because it gives you a great idea about the type of classes that you're going to be taking. Because even something like chemistry, you're not just going to be focusing on chemistry courses. You know, you do other science related courses, you do math courses. And as I mentioned earlier, chemistry was my first degree. But as soon as I learned that I had to do calculus and a whole bunch of other courses, that really turned me off to the idea of being a chemistry major. Now, on the opposite end, if that's something that is kind of troubling you, don't let that be a barrier for your own personal dreams as well. I had a roommate in college who was a chemical engineer, and he was pretty open about the fact that how terrible he was at math. But because of that, and because of the fact he knew that chemical engineering was a passion of his, he put in the work, he went to tutoring all the time, and he eventually graduated with his bachelor's degree in chemical engineering. And I laughed because now, not only did he graduate with that, now he has a master's in chemical engineering, and now he's actually going to go for a doctorate in chemical engineering. And that for him was just like, he was so passionate for it that he just knew that although I'm bad at math and I don't like math, I need to get through these courses because this is what I really want to do ultimately. So don't let that stop you either. Palomar College is also constantly reinventing itself, not just with new buildings. We have a whole bunch of new buildings on campus. I can't wait for a lot of you to actually physically see the campuses once we actually get back to some sense of normalcy. But we're also constantly reinventing our programs as well. As you can see, we have a nice list of all of our newer programs that we have. We have some programs that can be done entirely online in 1 year, and programs that can actually be done in 1 semester. So for those of you that are basically kind of going for a different route, you can look at there are more options than just going towards transferring and eventually getting a bachelor's degree. Speaking of online education, Palomar College actually really had a phenomenal online program even before all this like COVID and remote space happened. So for us, the transition was quite easy. And so as you can see, we actually had already some programs that could be done 100% online. We have some that can be done entirely in a year. And a lot of these courses will meet your general education requirements. Yes, they are 4 year transferable. There's a lot of flexibility with it. And of course, we have individual resources specifically tailored to online education. And so, definitely, it's going to be a great resource for a lot of you. Right now, we are kind of operating through this virtual space. We'll definitely be doing it in the spring semester. We are going to be opening up some of our trade specific programs in the spring semester, but that's just also because of the fact that you can't just learn about a car and then not being able to work physically with your hands with a car, or welding, or woodworking, or drone technology. So hopefully by the time fall 2021 around, we're going to have that much more expansion for students to be able to take more in-person classes. Now, for those that are interested in transferring, definitely we can help you transfer to a CSU, UC, private school, or at a state college. It's really important that once you get to college, just like you see your high school counselors, that you're making an effort to see your college counselors as well to help you out meet your goals. Now, the cool thing about transferring is that we have some guarantee programs when it comes to being admitted into the four-year system. And there's two specific programs I want to talk about. The first one is going to be the Associate's Degree for Transfer, or ADT. It's a program in which if you decide to get an associate's degree at Palomar College, we will guarantee you admission into one of the CSUs. Now, on the counter end, we have something for the UCs known as TAG, or Transfer Admission Guarantee, in which if you decide to, well, instead of getting an associate's degree, this one's a lot more GPA based. And as you can see through the slide, we have guarantee programs for 6 schools: Davis, Irvine, Merced, Riverside, Santa Barbara, and Santa Cruz. And the great thing about that is that these GPAs aren't super crazy. It's anywhere from a 2.7 to a 3.4. And the reason being is that you've already demonstrated to these colleges that you have about 2 to 3 years of college under your belt, and that you can keep up with the demand of the work that is being expected of you. And so for them, transfer pools are much smaller competitively compared to a whole bunch of high school seniors that are coming not just from your city, the state of California, but for the entire world, because everybody wants to come to California to study. Um, but we don't have it for Berkeley, UCLA, or UCSD. And that's just because there are very highly competitive schools. You can still apply to them as transfer students, and the pool is going to be much smaller as far as competition. But we just don't have guarantee programs with them. Now, there is something for UC San Diego in which if your family income is less than $40,000, they do have a guarantee program there. So that's definitely something to look into if you feel like you qualify for it. Moving on to student support, no matter where you decide to go, it's really important that you are reaching out to your student support services when you're struggling in your classes. Especially now in this virtual space, there is a lot of independence, and it can be really difficult, or like you can sometimes be a little shy, be like, well, I don't know where to go to for tutoring. Well, it's really important, again, no matter where you go, that you reach out to your tutoring services when you need some help. If you're ever struggling with something, there is likely a service that exists already to support you. Say, for example, you have an IEP or 504 plan. Currently, right now in high school, you can actually go through the Disabilities Resource Center and receive additional accommodations based on your IEP or 504 plan. But again, that's going to be something that you yourself have to self-identify as. They're not going to call you and be like, hey, we heard you're from Mission Hills, that you have such and such. This is something you have to self-identify yourself. So again, no matter where you go, make sure that you're reaching out and finding the resources that you need. I'll be putting this in the chat a little bit later, but pretty much this is a web link to a lot of the different links for the student resources on campus. For student clubs and organizations, right now, I know it sounds a little odd because it's all virtual, but I mean, this is a great chance to really build virtual community spaces. So that way, eventually, once you're physically on campus, you've kind of already done a lot of the work of getting to know each other, chatting, and building community that much bigger. I think one of the the coolest clubs on campus is actually the Smash Brothers clubs. It's a video game if you're not familiar with it, but in the student union, we have a whole bunch of TVs, and they literally just have a system set up, and it's just a group of students just playing. And I mean, come on, who doesn't want to play video games in between a class or for a study break? We also have performing arts. So whether you've been playing the guitar for your whole life, or if you're someone like me who has a guitar sitting in the corner of the room looking just as really cute decoration, you can definitely take classes at Palomar College to boost in your own skills or enhance them, get a certificate or an associate's degree with it as well. You don't need any prior experience to begin some of these courses, whether it's music, dance, theater. That's, I think, one of the best parts about it. I wish I would have done a little bit more of the arts, but I was like dead ring to just figure out what I wanted to major in. For those of you interested in sports, yes, sports are still happening. You can definitely get in contact with someone from the athletics department. This is going to be the main website in which you use as a guide for yourself to figure out where am I going to go, which sport am I interested in, and who's going to contact me. And now's the best time to start doing it, especially if you're looking to play a sport in fall 2021. Now to break down the numbers of everything, I know I've been talking about how affordable it is, how cheap it is. So we're going to show you visually how that actually looks. So for Palomar College, it's $46 a unit. Think of units like credits that you get for your courses. And in this specifically, we're going to say a 3-unit course. It is $138 per class. Students will take an average of 4 to 5 classes each semester, which can be anywhere from 12 to 15 units. So that will bring that to $690 per semester. Multiply that by 2 because you get the fall and spring semester, you get $1380. Now, comparing that to the Cal States and UCs, you'll see it's a little different. CSU system, you get $5,742. UC system is $12,570. Point Loma, which is a private school, is $37,600. The University of San Diego, not to be confused with UC San Diego, is $52,120. So as you can see, there is a slight difference with everything, but this isn't to discourage you all to be like, well, now I don't want to go to a 4-year school, or you've ruined my plans for that. There are just some possibilities that you might not get the financial aid package that you might have been expecting, or things do change and finances do kind of shift around. If that happens, just know that there is an affordable option in the meantime while you save money to eventually transfer to the school that you want to. We love the 4 years. So definitely, if you haven't already, make sure that you are filling out your FAFSA, or if you're an undocumented student, that you are doing the California Dream Act. The application already opened, and definitely the priority deadline for financial aid is March 2nd. Try to do it all before Thanksgiving break. It's going to give you great conversation dinner around the table. Now to go into Palomar Promise specifically, I mentioned this earlier. It is a program in which if you decide to attend Palomar College, we will guarantee you your first, wait, let me rephrase that. We guarantee you free tuition for your first 2 years of college. And the cool thing about that, it's not income based. So whether your family makes $0 or they make $1 trillion, as long as you do the appropriate applications, we'll give you the money, which is really great. They provide you with textbook assistance. And again, it's just making sure that you do all the right applications. And the great thing about that is actually that all applications for this are now live. So you can apply for fall 2021 now. And the great thing about it is that the Palomar College application, we don't require the SATs or ACTs, and it's a free application. So in order to qualify for Palomar Promise, you have to do 3 main applications. The first one is going to be the Palomar College application. Again, it's free, and you can apply for fall 2021 today. Now, if you've done already like a Palomar College class in the past and you already have a student ID, you do still have to resubmit an application, but your student ID is still going to be the same. So don't worry about changing on you. The second application that you're going to have to do is the FAFSA or the California Dream Act, whichever one you qualify for. Again, even if like you had a brother or sister earlier, like, well, they did it and they didn't give us anything, so we're not going to apply, or your parents are like, oh, they make too much, we're not going to even apply. You have to do it in order to get Promise. I can't stress that enough. So if your parents want to pay for your tuition, that's cute, that's fine. But hey, if they want to save some money, like, let them do the FAFSA or California Dream Act. And lastly, you have to do the Promise application. Now, the key thing about this is that in order to gain access to the Promise application, you have to have a student ID. meaning that you have to have applied to Palomar College to get your ID so you can access the Student Center and apply for Promise. Now, a lot of confusion for students come from the fact that, oh, well, if I'm applying for Palomar College and I'm doing Promise, does that mean that I can't apply anywhere else? No, you can absolutely apply anywhere else. We've been telling students if we are your plan A, get it done now. If we're your plan Z, do it anyway because there is no penalty for you if you decide at a later point, hey, I'm actually going to go to Cal State Long Beach. That's where that Tony guy went. I totally want to go there. That's totally fine. We just give the money to somebody else. So just make sure to do it. It's funny. We always tell students you never know what's going to happen. And last year, what happened? COVID happened. A lot of people were panicking because, you know, now they didn't want to go to a 4-year school because, well, if I'm going to be living at home, I don't want to spend that kind of money. Let me go back to Promise. And fortunately, we were able to help out as many students as possible. But again, that caused a lot of panic for some students. So if you want one less stress in your life, definitely just get it done. And again, it's for all first-time college students. If you've done concurrent enrollments where you've done college classes in the past, that exempts you, so don't worry. You just have to have your high school diploma or GED. And so remember, you're applying now for fall 2021. So kind of how you're applying for CSUs and UCs now for fall 2021, it's the same thing now for Palomar College. So you get a lot of support, priority registration. It's really important that you maintain eligibility through you have to be a full-time student and you have to maintain a 2.0 GPA, which is a C average. But remember also that your GPA does start over from scratch. So you want to do really well your first semester because you don't want to bury yourself in a hole. For those of you interested in taking a class while you're still in high school, this is pretty much the form that you're going to need. In order to receive permission, you do need signatures from your parents, counselor, and if you're under the age of 16, you do need the professor signature. But if you are 16 or 17 years old, you don't need the professor signature. So where you should kind of be at with everything right now is definitely in step 1 of everything, doing those 3 applications as soon as possible. If definitely, again, if Palomar College, you're already, I think I'm going to go there. Don't even waste your time. Just start doing it now. But if you're unsure, definitely at least consider it as a backup option for yourself, just in case things don't go the way you think that they're going to go. Some self-promotion for ourselves. We're actually going to be having a virtual information session tonight, actually, and a financial aid presentation. So for those of you that want to learn a little bit more about financial aid, ask your very specific questions, or just understand the process a little bit more, we're actually going to be having that some sessions in English and in Spanish. So the English one is going to be happening today, and the Spanish one is going to be happening more on November 18th. So for those of you that are Spanish speakers, you do have to RSVP for the virtual information sessions. But as far as for the financial aid ones, you can just show up. You don't need to RSVP. If you want to take a virtual tour of our campus, you can definitely do so. I'm pretty much going to start grabbing all these links as I'm wrapping all this up. So definitely start adding your questions in the chat if you have some. But for those of you interested in a virtual tour of Palomar College, I definitely encourage it. Great way to kind of see what the campus is like. Remember that this is all temporary. So, we hope that you'll eventually be able to physically see the campus and everything. So definitely you can take a virtual tour to kind of get a better understanding of it all. You're about to see a whole bunch of links to a lot of the different topics that we talk about. Feel free to use our website as your homepage. We have our virtual toolbox, which has links to all the topics we talked about today, but also a lot of different deadlines and resources for yourself. Again, if you are unsure where you're at in the process, feel free to use us as a guide. We have our contact information below. Let me make sure I add it in. I cut off some of it, so let's see. Ba-ba-ba. But that's pretty much it, y'all. Does anyone have any questions? You can oops, that's not right. Feel free to type it in the chat. Let me go ahead and set off, make sure that you guys can unmute yourself as well. go. There we go. So you can now unmute yourself. So if you have a question, definitely. I see we have a question in the chat. Where can we find our Palomar ID? I have one from junior year dual enrollment. So if you're unsure what your student ID is and it's been a while, don't worry. We can actually, I can show you very quickly as we're waiting for some other students. Ba-ba-ba. So for those of you that are still around, but Thomas as well. So this is pretty much the Palomar homepage. And so if you're trying to figure out, well, I kind of forgot my student ID, pretty much you're going to go to this main part, which is My Palomar, which is like the main login, and you're going to do the ID/password help. And so if you enter in your social security number here, your student ID will pop up here. I would give the example, but you know what? I like my privacy and my identity. I don't want no identity theft. So you would enter it here, 1, 2, 3, whatever, and it will automatically pop up here. Hopefully that helps, Thomas.
Would you be able to drop that link in the chat?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
And
Perfect. And I know you talked about the benefits of the promise. Can you also go over what maybe priority registration means? What type of book assistance, just in case some students don't know what that means?
Absolutely. Priority registration, pretty much what it means, it is like the hot ticket amongst you talk to any college student, you tell them you have priority registration, it is the best thing ever. Priority registration pretty much means that you get to be some of the first students in the college to register for classes, which is really great because some of you, I'm sure, are going to be working or have other priorities or need a very specific schedule. So it's really great that for the first 2 years that you get priority registration and you get to pick out classes based on your own flexibility. And for textbook assistance, the amount of money that you receive is going to be different, but Palomar College will provide you money for textbooks as well. And it will vary from year to year, but just know that they are going to be able to help you out with at least paying some books. Maybe not all of them.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did we have any other questions? I didn't see anything in the chat. Oh,
No
there is
more
one question.
Okay, yes.
Let's see. So first we apply for Palomar to get an ID and then do the Palomar Promise application. Absolutely. That's exactly it. You do the Palomar College application. It takes about 2 to 3 business days to receive an ID. Then after you have an ID, they'll email you, let you know what it is, and then you're able to log on to your student center to do Palomar Promise. So that's why also I've been telling students, don't wait till the last minute because of the fact there's that 2 to 3 business day window that you have to wait to get your student ID number. So you don't want to panic and find out, hey, the application is due tomorrow. This is on a first come, first serve basis as well. So we don't have a very specific deadline for Palomar Promise. There is financial aid deadlines as far as for FAFSA, which is March 2nd, but we don't know when we're going to close Promise. We are expecting a lot more students this year because of the remote space, and people are kind of learning a lot more about Palomar Promise as we move on. So definitely just get it done as soon as possible, I would say.
Tony,
Yes.
and as far as the application for the Palomar Promise, is that included in the chat that you posted earlier?
Oh, I did, but let me add it again specifically.
Okay.
I also did see a comment about someone saying, what was it? Make sure you use your personal email and not your San Marcos Unified School District email. Yes, because remember that as soon as you're done being a student, I believe it gets disabled. So definitely use your personal email so that way you get all the updated emails. Let me find the.
Okay, one more question. If we had a Palomar ID from last year, can you still fill out the applications?
If you had a Palomar ID from last year, can you still fill? Oh, absolutely. So it's pretty much, yeah, you're just pretty much filling out that the fact that you are coming in for fall 2021. So if any information, it's going to still have all your same information from when you first applied. So definitely make any edits if anything has changed, but you're just resubmitting your application now. That happens with all students. If you take a semester break, then you still have to reapply no matter what.
Just to go over the procedures again, last year was some confusion with the CCC apply account versus the Palomar application.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure that students know that you are applying to Palomar College through California Community College's main page. What do you call it? It's how
It's like
you
they're,
apply to every community college in
Mhm.
California. So you'll have a separate CCC apply account or username and password. And then there will be a separate box that you have to click that says start Palomar application. So it's kind of a two-step process once you start the CCC apply. If anyone has any questions, you guys can email your counselors or myself and we can help you with that too.
Absolutely.
All right. And with that, we have reached our time. Thank you, Tony, for presenting today. Very helpful information.
Oh, thank you for having me. I
So
really
I'll go-
appreciate it.